Hey there. I'm Brianna Bowling. I am the founder of Retreat and Learn. I need your help today. If you like these interviews, you need to spread the word. You need to hit subscribe on YouTube, follow me on Facebook, and even more important, share it with your friends. So if this is the very first time you have ever joined me on one of my interviews, and you have some questions, right? Like you're wanting to ask Kelly a question while we're here live, we will address them while you're live, and it's really easy. All you have to do is post your question in the comments, and we are going to address those. So today's topic, I am so lazy with my skincare. I've admitted it to Kelly. I'm admitting it to you right now. I go to bed all the time with my makeup on. Luckily, I don't wear makeup all that often, but I am really not consistent with any type of regimen. I take terrible care of my skin, but I am concerned. I mean, I just turned 51 this week. I don't want to age any faster than I already am. But I also am really lazy about it, and I don't want to spend forever in the bathroom. So I'm really happy to have Kelly Rose here today to teach us about skincare. I met Kelly through our love of horses, but I became even better friends when she helped my daughter through her teenage skin problems. Kelly has almost 20 years of experience in aesthetics, and as a teenager, she suffered from cystic acne, and that prompted her to enter the field of skincare. She takes a lot of pride in discovering her clients' individual skincare needs and then helping them feel their best. And as her own skin has evolved, she's developed a little bit more of an interest in anti-aging as well. She's currently an I can never say that word, esthetician at West End Plastic Surgery in Washington, D.C. And so I am really happy and excited to welcome Kelly. So, hello, Kelly.
Hello.
So I did my admission. We talked about a little before we went live about how terrible I am about skincare. You know what? I don't care what anybody says. I'm not alone in this. There are lots of other people out there who are probably just as lazy as I am, or maybe wish they could be. So if somebody really wants to get it down to the basics, like they just want to do, what are the things that they absolutely positively must do each and every day so that we're taking care of our skin?
Well, you nailed it on the head when you were like, I don't cleanse my skin every night. And I would say that's one of them. You should probably be cleansing your skin once a day, if not twice a day. And that is just to get the natural environment off the skin, the pollution, the different things, the barn, because I know you go to the barn, all of those things, and our natural oils that build up. So it's definitely important to cleanse the skin. Cleanser can be different for everyone. So you have your cleansers for your younger generation, your acneic people, your anti-aging. So you want to find the one that best suits your skin, but you do want to use it. So first will be a cleanser.
All right, let me ask you one question about that. You said that it's better if you do it twice a day, right? Mm-hmm. This is something I've always wondered. I feel like I'm going to confession, like skincare confession. But if you wash your skin at night, okay, and you go to bed and you're not really doing anything, why do you have to wash it again in the morning?
So did you wash your hair? Did you wash your pillowcase? Did you wash everything? Yeah.
Good
right.
point.
So you're probably going to roll around and the oils from your hair are going to get on your pillowcase and you're going to smother your face. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You got me.
Yeah. And a lot of times that's when I tell people a really light creamy cleanser is fine in the morning, because you probably don't need something that's going to be as deep or as harsh as something that you might use at nighttime that will remove your makeup and the pollution of the day and stuff. So something creamier is normally warranted in the morning. Some people even do just splash their face or do something like that. But I recommend like a creamy cleanser in the morning.
Okay. So cleanser first.
Cleanser first. So I'm going to name like 3 extreme basics, and then I'm going to add in 2 things that I think are important as we get a little bit older. Okay. So the extreme basics would be cleanser, and then of course a moisturizer. Everyone needs a moisturizer in some form or another just to bring balance to their skin. Even people who have oily acneic skin need to have to be using a moisturizer. And if you're dry, you definitely need to be using a moisturizer. So again, it's finding the appropriate one for your skin. And that's my job. When I see you, it's when I will choose what works best for you after assessing your skin and talking to you about your needs. Okay. And then thirdly is always your SPF. Super important. It is the best anti-aging product on the market. You cannot beat it. The sun, while it's our friend, it's also our enemy. So lots of UV damage. So you want to make sure you wear your SPF. So those would be the 3 things that I said. If you did nothing else, please do those.
Okay. So SPF, since you led us right down that path, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Does it matter what kind you use? And I obviously, I assume it does, or else there wouldn't be so many on the market. So talk a little bit about the SPFs that we have to choose from and how we should choose one.
So SPFs have kind of evolved in the last few years, which has been really good. Originally, a lot of SPFs were only formulated with UVB protection, which would be more of the burning rays, and didn't always have UVA protection. That has changed, and I believe in the next year or so, you can't even find on the market anything that doesn't have UVA and UVB protection. I'm pretty sure that is a pass down from the federal government, the FDA, that they're saying we have to. So before, I used to tell people it's very, very important to find an SPF that says full spectrum, has UVA and UVB protection. Now some of them even have UVC and I can't remember. It's like the red light. They're adding new things all the time. But the main spectrum, more spectrums. But the main thing is that you do find something that has UVA and UVB protection. If you're really sensitive, you probably want to find a chemical-free SPF. Those have evolved also. So back in the day, all of the zinc oxide SPFs used to cause that white sheen. They don't anymore. I have on a zinc oxide based SPF right now. And the way they formulate it is they actually micronalize I might have said that word wrong. They basically make it where the whiteness of the zinc oxide just kind of blends in and is no longer as apparent. So that's really nice. So the SPFs have come a long way. Of course, if you're buying cheaper SPFs, you're probably going to have some whiteness. And if you're going a little bit higher end medical grade, you'll probably find some nicer SPFs that don't leave that. So big important things are zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. Those are normally the 2 that are chemical free that you want to find because they physically block the rays. So the rays hit and bounce off, versus a chemical creates a chemical reaction. So the rays penetrate the chemical SPF, then causes some form of a reaction between the chemical and the UV rays, and then disperses it out. I would say that sometimes causes irritation for people. And I think that used to cause irritation for you. It does
still. Yeah. I was looking at it. So I actually brought my products out so I could, in case I had some questions about it. And mine is actually a mineral moisturizer, but it does say broad spectrum on it. So I never actually noticed it said that. So yay for me, right?
Yay!
So that's good. All right. So that's good for me to know. And probably for others too. So if you don't get a reaction from the chemical ones, is there any reason not to use them?
So like anything, when we're using chemicals, if you're a little bit going into the healthier side of things, do you want to always be applying more chemicals onto your body and different things? I mean, that's entering a whole different realm, right? Like we could go down the rabbit hole with that.
We could go forever.
But most of the time, if you don't have a reaction and you're fine with putting chemicals on, it's fine.
Okay.
But I would say a lot of people are getting more concerned about how much they're putting on their body or putting in their body in that sense. So the better option would be to try to find one that is just a physical block.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, going back to my laziness, okay, and how lazy I am. And, you and I had talked about this a little bit before. So if we want to do a little bit more, okay, we talked about that we need the cleanser, the moisturizer, and the SPF. Now, I'm getting down to that SPF level and I'm going, can I just mix my moisturizer and my SPF together and smear it on together? Wouldn't that save some time?
It would save time, but you wouldn't get the full benefits from either of your products at that point. So moisturizers are actually formulated. So no, don't do it.
Okay.
Moisturizers are formulated to penetrate the skin, and SPFs, again, especially if you're using a physical block, physically kind of sit on the skin. So they're not getting as absorbed as your moisturizer. So if you're mixing them together, you're probably both diluting how much moisture can get into your skin, and you're probably diluting how strong your SPF is.
Okay, so you want that moisturizer to penetrate and then put the SPF on top to seal,
Yeah.
basically, is how
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. So are there any products that I can mix? So, I mean, let's say that you're going outside of those three basic things. Are there some things that I can mix together to save some time with either my
Yes.
moisturizer or my SPF, or where in there can I?
So not the three basics. I wouldn't mix any of them. And I would say at that point, that is such an easy regimen. You should be able to do that.
Yeah. I'm thinking more if you wanted to add a fourth thing. So
yeah,
like,
so we're going to add two more things in. And these are two things when someone comes in and says, Kelly, it's time. I need to up my game. And Brian and I would say it's time. Let's up our game. Okay. So one of them is going to be a vitamin C, your antioxidant. Okay. That's especially important for those of us who do spend a lot of time outside. It's complementary to using our SPFs because it actually adds another layer of protection from the UV rays. So remember free radical damage? Remember learning that way back when? Basically, your vitamin C is helping against the free radical damage that the sun creates. So
So it's not actually protecting you from, it's not like it's an SPF. It's just protecting you from the damage that it could do.
Exactly. So a good example of this was I had a friend put on her vitamin C and she kind of didn't get it all the way through here. And then her SPF, she was at the beach and her SPF, she really applied everywhere. And she was like, oh good, I'm safe. And she had a burn right there.
Really?
Yeah. So it just added that little bit of extra protection for her. Which I thought I don't always tell people. Well, I tell people that, but I'm like, you still need to use your SPF.
So when do you add that then? The vitamin C, where in the steps does that go?
So most of the time that's going to go after the cleanser and before the moisturizer.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of times the vitamin C is going to be a serum based product. And so that's going to be more liquidy than your moisturizer. And I tell most people we're going to go from liquids to thicker products. So you want to do your liquids first. And so a lot of your vitamin C's are serums. Okay. So those will go on first. Okay, and that vitamin C is a daytime product. I recommend using it in the day. Once it's in, and it's good for 24 hours. So you don't need to reapply that for nighttime.
Okay.
That's just one extra step in the morning.
All right. Okay. I might be able to do that, Kelly. I'm going to try it.
I think that one is doable.
Yeah. You'll see me in a month. I'm going to look like I'm 20. All right. Sorry. What's the next step?
So the next one would be your nighttime. And that's where I a lot of times add in a retinol, some form of a retin-A based product. Remember our vitamin A's back in the day, the retin-A that you got from the doctor. Do you remember that?
Well, okay, I didn't, but yes.
Yeah, but I think I want to say the generation before me got put on retin-A for.
I remember a lot of my friends on it. I just, I wasn't great at skincare then either. So.
Right. So there were two uses for it. One of them being for acne and the other one being for anti-aging. And then they kind of renamed the one for aging to I can't even remember the name they gave it, but they didn't call it retin-A. So that way the older generation didn't feel like they were using an acne product. Yeah. But basically it was the same product.
Okay. So that's for anti-aging or what? Then?
It is for anti-aging and it can be used for acne. So for those of us who suffer from acne, we normally have been doing a lot of anti-aging things for our skin and tend to age better because
Yay.
Yep. So
all right, keep going. I have some questions about that, but keep going because I'm going to go back into stuff that I have sitting on my desk here.
Yep. Back in the day when you got the prescription retin-A, there were a lot of negative side effects that seemed to happen with that, which would be redness, peeling, flaking, irritation. I always tell people that is a side effect. That is not a result. So in my field, a lot of the product lines that I work with have formulated retinols. And these are a variation of the vitamin A that was used in the retin-A that is going to create that same kind of cell turnover, that same anti-aging benefit, but not cause the redness, peeling, and irritation. It still can if overused. So I always start people off every third night and we build into it. But a lot of times it's much easier to use a retinol from us than it is to get the prescription Retin-A, because that a lot of times people can't handle it. And so then they end up not using it. And there's
does
no
it only
benefit.
have retinol in it, or is it other names for this that we would use?
Most of the time it's going to say retinol. I mean, sometimes you'll have a product that might say has vitamin A in it, and it might offer a little bit of the same benefits. But a lot of times if someone's saying, Kelly, I can only add like 2 more things into the regimen, it's going to be the vitamin C and a retinol.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. All right. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that I have on my desk, and you can tell me whether, since I don't do much of anything and maybe I'm adding the wrong things in, and maybe other people are too. I don't know. So one of the things that was recommended to me was to make sure that I use an exfoliant. And so the one that I have used, and it does seem to help with my redness, which is my one big problem I do have, is salicylic
acid.
Thank you. Whoo! Yes. So is that something that I should or should not be using? And should people in general be using it? And if we should, when?
Yeah, so salicylic acids, there's a family of different acids, your BHAs or your salicylics, your AHAs or glycolics. Salicylic is normally associated with acne products because it has a slower, almost time release way of going versus like an AHA glycolic is a little bit like put it on, it does its job, take it off kind of thing. I think it's kind of about how it dissolves and breaks down the dead skin cells a little bit differently than the glycolic does. So if you have redness, kind of probably from some inflammation or different things happening, a salicylic is a good choice. A BHA is a good choice for your skin. So using that probably at least weekly, I would definitely say would be beneficial, because as we age, especially you just celebrated a birthday, so happy birthday. As we age, we definitely, our cell turnover level, so the rate at which our skin cells are replacing themselves slows down.
Yeah.
So, when we look at young kids and you see that they just have that healthy glow and you're like, I don't have that anymore. My skin looks a little dull. We can recreate that by using products such as a salicylic acid, a glycolic acid, or even a manual exfoliation. I would not recommend a manual exfoliation for you. You suffer from a little bit of redness. It would probably further make the redness worse. But for some people, that's a good option.
And what is that, a morning or AM or PM type thing to add?
I would say for some people, it's whenever they can remember to do it.
Okay.
For me personally, I would say to do it in the PM, because then you will get better penetration of your products. And then you're not immediately going out into the environment when your skin's probably at its most fragile at that moment.
Got it. Okay. Toner. Let's talk about toner, because that was not one of the 3. And I thought you were going to say that was going to be one of the 3 things that you must use in your regimen. And you didn't mention it. And you didn't even mention it in your next 2.
Nope.
So why is it so highly recommended? And what the heck is toner?
So toner has had a reemergence because of the Korean skincare. I don't know if you've kind of followed that at all.
No.
Korean skincare has made a huge, it's just huge. It's absolutely huge. And they use almost like a rose water hydrating based toner and probably apply it like 20 times in their regimen. It's kind of crazy. If you YouTube like Korean skincare, and you'll see.
Okay.
But so it's had a resurgence because of that, but it's not the same as like what we probably think of when you and I think of toner. So when I think of toner, before I went to school for this and have done this for years, I thought of something that had probably a little bit of a salicylic acid in it, or something that would actually remove more oils and different things and tone the skin. That is actually an astringent, not a toner. So I wouldn't even say to most people to use that every day. Maybe a really light one, you could get away with it. But a toner originally was formulated to bring the pH balance back to your skin after you used a cleanser that disrupted your natural pH balance. So our skin is naturally acidic, and soaps tend to be alkaline. And when you put a soap or old cleanser on the skin, old being like times of the past, it would disrupt your natural acidic level. And then you would put a toner on, not the astringent, so not anything that had the acids in it, but a toner, like a hydrating toner, and that would bring your pH balance back. Cleansers no longer are alkaline.
Gotcha. So because they've improved the cleansers, we no longer need the toner.
So I would
required.
Yeah. So some people love using them, and that's totally fine because they might find something that creates less inflammation in their skin, or is a little bit hydrating, or they just like the feeling of it. Feel free. That's great. But it's not a required step anymore because the pH should be balanced.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. See, it's one thing I don't have to do.
Yep.
I like
We
okay,
do
so
not
one
have
other
to add
thing.
that in.
I will. I'm going to get better at it. I'm going to show you my skin in a month, and you're going to be so impressed. So I'm going to actually do good about the 3 things at least. So there's one other thing that is on my counter that I don't know what the heck and why I use this, but it's an omega and complex serum with chia and flaxseed. No idea why I have it. So in general, serums in general, there's so many different serums out there. Is there any reason to use them? Or is it really just addressing particular skin problems?
I would say it's probably all addressing different skin problems. So when you get into all the different, I mean, there are thousands of different skincare lines, right? And they all probably have something that they focus on, so that they are known for that, right? Like that's their skincare is known for a specific thing. Like one really popular one in the medical field is Skin Medica is known for their TNS Essential Serum, which has growth factors that are supposed to be very anti-aging and regenerate your skin. So growth factors, right? That is what they are known for. That is what their patents are on. That is what, that's just huge with their line. So every line has something. Like, do you know what is the company that is making that product?
This particular one is Paula's Choice.
Okay. So there's,
I'm not saying you'd have to address this particular one.
Right.
I guess the more thing is, there's lots of different skin problems. I told you, we have a little bit of redness in my skin. I also obviously am aging as well. Acne was one of the things that you helped my daughter address. There's people who have very dry skin.
How is her skin doing, by the way?
It's doing pretty well. So probably big help on that. Massive, massive help. So she's doing great. So I'll have to have you come see her sometime just so you can see her. But all these different problems that people have, there's specific problems. There's all these different serums that can, that at least claim to help them. So are there particular ones that you think are better than others? And then when again should they apply that in the regimen? Okay.
So as far as serums go, I would say always try to find a vitamin C. Like if you had to look at 100 serums and pick which one, pick a vitamin C. Like,
got it.
That's going to be a great serum to use. Another thing that's normally found in serums that's been all the rage for probably the last 5 years is HA serums, hyaluronic acid. That is a molecule that can hold 200 times its weight in water. So right. So it's not a moisturizer. It is a hydrator. And the best way to describe that is if in the summertime, if you put that on and you go step outside right now, like you're going to pull moisture into your skin. So great product if you are a little bit dry. And then I would say you want to seal that in with your moisturizer. So that's another thing that comes in serum form. And that is something when we say, could we mix 2 products in our hand? A lot of times you could do that with your vitamin C if you really wanted to skip putting 2 different things on.
Okay, but the serums always come after the moisturizer.
Before.
I'm sorry. After the cleanser, before the moisturizer, sandwiched between the 2 of them. Is there any serums that you can't use in conjunction with each other? I'm not talking about mixing them in your hand, but like, can you put a vitamin C on and then a BHA right afterwards? Or is there anything that you should never use the 2 on the same day?
So one of them was, but this is really getting into the weeds, was like copper peptides and a vitamin C. but most people don't use copper peptides.
Okay.
So at that point, when you're delving into something like that, I would say you're probably getting an advice from a professional, and they're going to know that, and they'll kind of direct you in the right path to not mix what you can't do. But the majority of the time, you're going to be safe. I think one of the really hit product sites that was huge during the pandemic was I think it's called The Original.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a really good price point, kind of good for that teen to like newer 20s age, and people were using that. And I would say their website was pretty good about saying like you couldn't mix this with this, so people wouldn't delve off buying it all and then actually causing further damage, because at that point you could actually cause free radical damage if your products are fighting each other, and that causes aging. And
Gotcha.
We don't want that.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
All right. So I really only have one other question, and I'm not sure that we're going to be able to, again, like there's so many things we could discuss today, right? And we could go talk about this probably for 3 weeks straight, but we don't have that much time. Does nutrition, what you put into your body nutritionally, either, via liquids or via food, does that change your skin at all?
It can, for sure. So I did a little skincare talk during the pandemic for work for West End Plastic Surgery, and I did it on sugar and the effect sugar has on our skin. And sugar causes an inflammatory response in the body. And so for those of us, for you, it would probably cause more redness in your cheeks, because that would create a more inflammatory response. For me, I suffer from melasma, which is an inflammatory state, which causes the pigmentation. Heat and inflammation cause this. It can be hormonally driven, but then the heat and the inflammation kind of make it worse. So when I eat a lot of sugar, I'm in a more inflamed state in my body, and my melasma gets worse. So yes, food can definitely play a part. As also like eating tons of processed foods and different things. It's anything internally happening. Is your skin's your largest organ. So if your body is not in its best place because you're not feeding it the things that it needs to be fed, that's going to show in your skin because it's your largest organ. And then, of course, there's always allergies. So a lot of times, if I have a patient come in and we're seeing things, I do try to address are there some things that we can change that might help in that department? But most of the time, everyone's going to tell you to eat a healthy diet anyway. So,
right. But you bring up a really good point that I never really thought about it. With the skin being the biggest organ, it's very much probably a reflection of what's inside of you that we can't see. It's not just the biggest organ, it's the one we can see. We can't see our liver, we can't see our heart, but we can see this indicator light. Basically, it's the light that says, hey, look, if you're making this inflamed, most likely your liver's inflamed too.
Yeah, most likely your gut, your GI tract.
Thing.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of times the skin can reflect the GI tract quite a bit. That's also from personal experience. I can suffer from a lot of inflammation internally with that. And so just having had that, I've really talked to a lot of patients, and we've kind of discovered those of us who have issues with our GI tract, that tends to come through in our skin a little bit more too.
All right. I never really thought about that, but that's like an exciting thing actually to me. It's almost like
a reflection.
It's a check engine light, Your indicator light just came on.
Yeah.
This is good. So one of the things that just to finish up things is that you mentioned, I was asking you about the serums and mixing things and how to put the regimens together. I would like people to know how to reach you. And we can put that in the comments later too, because it could be that, if somebody does want to have a regimen a little bit more than what I want to, and trying to get past those basics, and they're trying to mix serums. Obviously, the best way to find out the best regimen from them is to consult a professional like yourself.
Right. So just westendplasticsurgery.com. That will have our services and our treatments, our phone number. You can also email me at kelly@westendplasticsurgery.com. But yeah, I would say check out everything on the website, and then you can call and set up an appointment. Most of the time I tell people set up a consultation with the treatment, so we can do the consultation and then immediately following do the treatment. So you don't waste your time driving all the way in and not getting anything done.
Yeah, great.
Because consultations 15 to 30 minutes, but that leaves me no time to really do the job needed.
Right.
And then a lot of times I like to start with a more basic facial and then build from there. Especially, we'll have to talk finances and what works for people, but sky's the limit at where I work. We have a lot of great lasers and different machines that we can use that are really anti-aging. Lots of good chemical peels for acne, pigmentation, a lot of options. And I work on all skin tones. So since I am half Asian, my skin is very tricky. So those of us with a little bit of a darker skin tone, that's a different ball game. I'm very familiar with working with darker skin tones. That's important to make sure you see someone who is, because you don't want them picking the inappropriate treatment for your skin tone too. The whiter you are, the easier that is. So Brianna, we can do quite a bit to you.
However, I do burn like nobody's business. So I do have that problem. But, and then, my lovely problem of being allergic to SPF, or most SPFs.
Yeah, I remember that. And I was just like, what?
It's a problem. It's almost like I get a chemical peel from it. So it's not fun.
You have an actual visceral reaction to your SPF. But you did found one that worked, right?
Yeah, I just have to be very careful about just making sure that I apply it very not liberally, because it seems that when I do start applying it, eventually I get allergic to that too. So
So it's almost like contact dermatitis that after a few times your body's like, I recognize that. No.
Yes.
That brings up a really good point too. Sometimes you might use a product and it's fine for a little bit, and then you might start to have a reaction to it. That can just happen. So just awareness.
Yeah. I mean, and that is actually when I had that SPF problem, I had used that particular sunblock for a while, and suddenly it was not my sunblock. Yeah. So that was, we learned some lessons. My check engine light went on big time.
Do you have one right now that's currently working? Because I can get you some samples of some that are post-procedure and really sensitive skin.
Currently, the one I'm working on with does, and I'm going to use it until one day it doesn't.
Well, then call me.
Then I will be calling you. And I can say, so even though I am a terrible, terrible representation of Kelly's expertise, because I am not great at the skincare stuff, she did a phenomenal job with my daughter. I mean, like truly, when we said in the intro that Kelly really wants to make people feel good about themselves and how they look, that is what she did for my daughter. She brought back her self-confidence in terms of what she looked like with her skin. And so for that, I'm very grateful. And so I definitely would recommend Kelly over and over and over again for her expertise and her kind way of delivering it.
Well, thank you. Well, I have a heart for the younger generation, especially with acne, because that's a personal journey that I went through. So
you get it.
Yeah, I do. And I understand how hard it is. So
it is.
And you will always identify as that, even though there is not a single blemish probably on me right now. I identify as someone that has acne. Right.
Well, you get it. And that's probably good for your clients. So, all right. Well, we are about done. I'm going to, after we finish this, I will post in the comments how to reach you. And so that way, if anybody has any questions to follow up with Kelly, or obviously would like to make a consultation with her, then you can. So thanks very much, Kelly. And we'll see everybody on our next broadcast, which is actually also about skin. I think it's sometime next week. I don't have the date. I should have written this down beforehand. But next week, we're going to have a interview on tattoos, getting your very first tattoo, what you need to think about, what you need to worry about, what happens when you walk in that door. Because I don't know. I've never had a tattoo, but I'm excited to learn about it.
That sounds like a lot of fun, actually. So,
I'm excited. Yeah. So, and it's by a woman-owned tattoo firm. So that's exciting too.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks very much, Kelly. And we will talk to y'all soon.
Perfect. Thank you.